Welcome back. On this episode, financial wisdom from the woman who helped me hit the road. We stealth camp in a beautiful place. My $2 hack to keep people from seeing inside my van. An update on Buddy's health, and also a really cool book signing with my podcast partner. Good morning. I'm at the Elmer Marina. So if you saw a previous episode, and that's in Quebec, if you saw a previous episode, I came here to check it out one afternoon because it's on iOverlander, and I just sort of flagged it because it was just beautiful. So last night I got in the vehicle about 9 o'clock. Lots of parking spaces still available for the people that use this as a recreation area. And this morning there's one van and one enormous RV and nobody else. It's 6 o'clock in the morning and I have this as my front yard. And then that is my backyard. I mean, look at that. And I'm here all by myself. I can't go for a walk on the pier this morning because somebody is still recovering from his knee surgery. So he's taking it pretty easy, but I'm just delighted. I mean, I slept really soundly. The heat wave has broken, so I actually needed one blanket as opposed to sometimes I've had 3 in a sleeping bag. But I have work to do today, so this is my morning. And I'm gonna go get a coffee, because again, I can't set up a camp stove and everything. When people say that you can sleep in their parking lots, you don't set up an entire campsite. So, hope you're all having a great day. I've got to record a podcast and do some work on editing for you guys. Buddy is 4 days post-surgery, so we are indoors with my friend Janet Gray, who is also, if you've seen the podcast, the Inner Shift podcast, she's also our regular financial contributor about things that we all need to know in these difficult times. Oh, here comes Buddy hopping on one leg. That's okay, you can stay down there. Janet, we've known each other a long time. And you are an advice-only financial, wow, it's getting stormy outside. Well, goddess to me.
I like that term. I'm going to use it.
Yeah. And this channel is particularly for people who live van life or RV life or something like that. So, as you know, 3 years ago, car accident happens, and I have to make some life decisions. And you're dealing with a client who has a head injury, PTSD,
all of it,
and a very expensive condominium. Mm-hmm. So for people out there who are thinking about this life, and a lot of retirees are, you know, I've seen them all over North America now. How do they get their duckies in a row?
Not easily.
Mm-hmm.
Not easily. I mean, they need to know their numbers is what it comes down to. What are my sources of income? What are my expenses? Is there an overlap? Is there a shortfall? How do I manage it? Do I have to give up something, or do I need to either reduce my expenses or increase my income, if that's even possible? So it's all about knowledge is king.
So,
or queen,
princess. So Bob Wells, who I interviewed, as you know, I was a total fangirl about interviewing Bob Wells, who does cheap RV living, and he has sort of different categories, because if there's people who they're about to lose their house, or they have a whole different situation, yes. Right? Is that they have to get rid of things. And we had a bit of run-up time because I had decided I was going to do this about 6 months before I hit the road, which will be, when most people see this, almost a year that I have been unhoused by choice. Because I was just looking at the rent I was paying in this transitional, beautiful condo while I made decisions after COVID about whether I wanted to buy a house again or not. And boom, no paycheck.
Yeah.
I mean, think about how that would affect you, right?
Yeah.
And it's years of dealing with an insurance company.
Yes.
So what you always tell me about for other people is that emergency plan, the fund. You need to have something that you have in the bank or that you have invested.
You need a backup plan.
Backup plan.
Backup plan to cover your ongoing expenses. And even if you're not in a home, you still have ongoing expenses. You still have to eat. You still have to maybe pay, room and board, or buy some services. Like, you still have costs. It's very unlikely that you can find someone that has no costs and wants to be independent, of course.
Right.
So it's have some of that money set aside, because we don't know from paycheck to paycheck that we're not going to have our jobs any longer. So a lot of things are variable. The more specific your skills are, then the more money you want to set aside. So a brain surgeon is going to take them a lot longer to find another job, because there's only 10 brain surgeons in the country, versus someone who is a construction worker. Because it's much lower entry point maybe, and there's more need for a lot of them, versus at the upper echelons of brain surgeons, like I say, there's 10.
I met some senior women in the United States, and I told you this just as a friend, and we were talking about what I had seen and what I want to write about for the book, who are living on $800 US a month, and they decided to move into a house on 4 wheels. The Canadian situation is obviously where you practice. Are we starting to see? Do you have increasing concern for what is happening now with the dynamics between those two countries, Canada and the United States, and to have a plan?
Well, I think so, particularly if you're interested in living in a van. It's going to be harder to do that if you don't want to cross into the U.S. because our weather just doesn't cooperate like that.
Yeah. That's why I'm going to Vancouver Island
exactly.
and Baja, Mexico.
Yes, everyone's going kind of around the U.S., but I think it's still a good plan to have, but maybe the timing is going to be different. And of course, the longer you stay maybe in Canada, the more expensive it might be too, because you're not getting some of those lower and free places that you stayed in the southern states that I don't think we have a lot of those in Canada.
So this is really going to impact snowbirds, who also spend a ton of money in the United States when they go down there. But yeah, snowbirds, Vancouver Island will be a very crowded place.
So it's only this big of an island. How many can it hold, right?
No, and it's really not as warm in the southern ones, which is why I'm using my Aeroplan points, which you set me up with 20 years ago, I think. And that's how I get free plane tickets.
Absolutely.
Because I put everything on a credit card, make sure that I pay it off every month. And then I use those points to fly to a place that's much cheaper and much warmer, because I don't want to drive that far again.
No. And I think a lot of people, and a good point, a lot of people forget that there's other ways to get your stuff done and to pay for your stuff. Sometimes it's a bartering system. Sometimes it's I'll give you this if you give me that. I will look after your dog, and you can help me refurnish my van or something. So there's a lot of that underground, as they call it, economy happening, I'm sure, because you save your money for the stuff that you can't barter or make a deal on or get cheaper. Like, you can't get gas cheaper usually. You can't get if you had to pay a hydro bill, you can't get hydro cheaper. But again, that said, maybe in some places you can get deferrals on some of your bills if you're in a low income bracket. I know in Canada, some municipalities, you can defer your property taxes, for example. If you owned a property, you can defer them until your death or until you sell the house. So there are a lot more low income programs happening. Maybe harder to pin down if you're a low income person on the move all the time.
And two of the areas that we did a lot of research in, and it was amazing to me, the price difference, was healthcare for me to be a traveler in the United States. vastly different. So I did my research on that, but also how to insure a vehicle that I live in. And I won't get you to go all through the drama of what that was about, because this isn't specific to Ontario, but you really need to do your research or you could be in a worse pickle than you're starting out at.
No, absolutely. There's a lot of details that you need to be aware of. And part of it is talking to the community, becoming a member of that community, shared common knowledge in that community, but also maybe reaching out to some of the professionals that you've dealt with in a previous employment or a previous version of your life, and say, here's where I want to go. What can you do or point me to that will help me do that better?
And I think lastly, the thing that I was so fortunate about was in our group of people who had to kind of deal with Mike, who deals with my investments and, how to do that when I needed some money to get by and stuff like that, is, I thought that it would be a shameful experience. Guys, I'm in trouble. And, but instead it was, you actually said to me at one point, I'm learning so much. This is kind of cool because there are things that we didn't know how to do if I was going to, be in Ontario 6 months a year, living in a vehicle, and then traveling 6 months a year to somewhere that was warmer. So surrounding yourself, I think, with the right people is really key because you don't want people saying you're going to be homeless. That's ridiculous. No, actually, it's not.
No.
There's a whole world of van lifers out there, but finding the right people and then keeping them.
I think so. And a lot of it is don't be ashamed, embarrassed, or nervous about asking for help, right? You were straight up, can you help me with this? And then we just kind of ran it a whole different bunch of ways to see if we could. Reached out to my experts as well. And so there was a lot of teamwork involved. So I think I was saying to you that, it is kind of, it's been fun. It's been rocky-ish sometimes, but I've learned so much. And people are going, wow, I didn't know that. And other people, the insurance people, the investment people are kind of like, yay, Team Timothy. Like,
yeah.
So it's worked out for all of us to kind of have this knowledge and share it vicariously on your trip.
Well, and the thing that I'm learning too is, as you know, I call us the invisible people for this book that I'm preparing to write on Vancouver Island. And there's a lot more people out there than most people who live in houses or what we call bricks and sticks. There's a lot more than we know of. I mean, I will be leaving here after a beautiful dinner with you and more. And I'll be leaving here, and I probably by the time I get to the other side of town, I have seen 5 on our major highway, and the signs if you're a van lifer of that's not a construction vehicle, or certain they don't usually have drapes or air conditioning units on the top of the back, or so there's certain tells about it. So I think that this is something that, quite honestly, is going to become more necessary for both Canada and the United States. And, I've never trashed the United States because I love some of my American family members, but, our countries are having a difficult time right now. And I think that's going to affect people the people who are just barely getting by. It's going to be harmful. Yeah, so I lied. So one more thing is that I did find that you saved me a lot of money in this process.
Oh, good.
So if you think that you can't afford an advisor, maybe you can't afford not to.
No, I agree with that too. A lot of the time it's finding a better solution, but because we don't know what we don't know. And if someone can kind of say, okay, well, that's good, but here's a less expensive way of doing it, then you're still winning. And maybe it's even more of a win.
Yep. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Love you. Here, I'll give you a royal. Okay. Here, you take the dog and I'll turn the camera off.
There you go.